Turn his video on, you're welcome to do it.
Sorry, moment.
Yeah. Turn his video on, you're welcome to do it.
Okay, it works. Sorry, moment.
Yeah. Just mute it because I can hear myself.
No, now not.
Oh, now I know. Yeah, cool.
It was my second screen with YouTube.
Cool.
Okay, so hello everybody. So today is the day we have a free exclusive workshop with Nir Kaufman. Hi Nir, how are you?
Hey Derek, how are you?
Thank you. Yeah. I think we can very slowly start because, as I said, it was my delay. Sorry about that. I sent this invitation email very late, so we can start, but very slowly. What do you think about it?
Yeah.
I can play some music at the beginning if you want. Okay, all right. So, Nir, the stage is yours.
So, first of all, if there's anyone here who like to turn on his video, you're welcome to do it. You're not have to, but it's been a while since we saw each other in person. So like Darish said, let's start slowly. Slow evening. The most important thing before you start coding, especially if it's like 8 p.m. on my side, prepare a notebook. Maybe you'll learn something new today, hopefully. Oh, yeah, very important. My signature whiskey. So let me make a toast with you, guys. Cheers. Salute. How you
Na zdrowie.
Slovia.
Na zdrowie, yeah, exactly.
I should know already, I think. I just found the picture from NG Poland, the first one. Anyone here have been at the first NG Poland, at the stadium? Quiet. Guys, you can use the chat. You can use emojis if you like. You can raise your hand if you've got a question. Maybe we'll put someone on. All right. I can see some more people getting around. Let's do a quick check. Can you see my thumbs up emoji? Show me yours. All right, yeah, you're with me. Just want to check. So like I said, you can use the chat during this meetup, during this session. If you've got any questions, feel free to show some emojis if you want. And feel free to raise a hand like this. And maybe we'll see how it's going to work. We're going to have some time for questions. Right. Let me just make sure that I can see the chat, and I think we can slowly start.
It sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. You don't have to turn your video. Yeah, don't feel uncomfortable. It's totally fine if you want to keep it black. Just from time to time, let us know that you are with us. That's important. Right? Cool. So let me share my screen. So this session, this special, the word that we love to say, exclusive, because it is exclusive. It's going to be a sneak peek for from full blown, brand new, up to date workshop that I prepared, which is all about Angular View, or even more, to be more specific, about DOM manipulation in Angular. Because from my experience, DOM manipulation in Angular, it's like it's some kind of an issue. I mean, it's considered to be a bad practice. I mean, you probably heard about it. Anyone who ever touched Angular knows that no, you shouldn't touch the DOM. You shouldn't do a direct DOM manipulation. It's forbidden. We've got these layers of abstractions, and we've got view containers, and we've got the renderer, and we've got a bunch of API. And if you touch the DOM directly, bad things are gonna happen. So I prepared like a snippet from this workshop, and we're gonna focus specifically on this kind of bad practice, and hopefully together tonight we will learn, and it might surprise you. I don't know. Let me know when we're done. That doing direct DOM manipulation isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if you ask me today, I would say there are no bad practices. They're just, trade-offs. Because if you learn how things works, you can make your own decision, and there are no bad practices or good practices, unless you're doing something very, very, very wrong, like you completely destroyed your app, and that's very bad. That's a bad practice. Don't do it. So I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Nir. If you want to learn more about me, you can check out this very, very simple website, the nir.life. You can find the links to some slides and code in YouTube. I'm working at Next Insurance. And what else? Oh, and I'm gonna visit Poland next month, of course. NG Poland, JS Poland. It's been a while because of this situation. But nothing gonna stop me, I hope. Unless it's gonna be the the guys at the border, the airport. If they're gonna stop me, I won't be able to come. But nothing else is gonna stop me. So I hope to see you there as well, guys.
That's amazing. Looking forward.
Yeah, I am. If there is one conference that this year that I'm gonna do everything to be there in person, it's gonna be NGJS Poland. So let's get started. In my sessions, I like to start from scratch, for completely scratch. So I'm gonna create a brand new Angular project. So so you won't be able to say, yeah, it was a demo, it was pre-prepared, everything worked. So it might work, it might fail, but hey, that's life. Yeah. So I might need your help during this process. I'm gonna generate a new project. I'm going to use npx ng new. Let's call it ng Poland. And I'm going to use the minimal flag. If you're not familiar with the minimal flag, it just means create a brand new Angular project. We don't need routing, CSS is fine. The template is going to be inline, and the CSS is going to be inline inside the component. So it's like a regular Angular project, but minimal. Don't use it for production app, but it's great if you just want to play or learn something new. Let's stop. Where is it? Here it is. I'm gonna open it editor. So If in some point you can't see the video or you can't hear me or the code is small for you, please let me know. Just hit the chat. I'm here, Darish here, so we can help you with this. Like I said, it's a minimal project. Let me make it larger. It's a minimal project, which means that no directories, app component, everything is inline. I think npm install is in progress. Yeah, that's the reason everything is still marked with grips, but it'll take a second and it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna change my Wi-Fi, so I might be freeze for a second. Don't worry. All right, can you hear me? Derek, are we good? Yeah, it's taking a while. All right. Meanwhile, let's start with talking a little bit about Angular. So, like I said at the beginning, it's going to be a snippet from the full-blown workshop. So I'm gonna jump right into our topic for today, which is the view. What is a view in Angular? So in Angular, there is this internal data structure that we call a view. That's the name. I didn't make up this name. It's straight from the source code. And this data structure, it represents basically three kind of different things: the template, the logical, and the render trees somehow all together. Now, if that's the first time that you hear these terms like logical tree, render tree, don't worry, that's the topic of our session today. So what is a logical tree or logical view in Angular? Well, basically, you can think about it. I prepared this slide. Like when you build a component in Angular, like this one, for example, and you describe your template with tags, you can think about it like building a class in JavaScript or TypeScript. That's a definition of how you like the view to look like. Or to be more specific, more precise, we describe how we want the logical tree to appear. Now, what is a logical tree? Why do I use this term logical? Because here we've got a clear definition of some kind of a hierarchy. We've got parent elements or parent components or parent nodes, and we've got children. So we describe a structure, a logical structure. There is a logic, all right? Now, we build a template, and the famous Ivy compiler will take our template, and it's going to parse it into something that, like I mentioned, called the logical view, and you can think about it as an instance. If the template view, this template definition, is the class, so think about the logical view as an instance. The Ivy compiler took our template, our component, and instantiated it. Hope it was clear enough. You're going to see it in a second, all right? No worries. Now, that's the Angular part. When this part is done, a DOM is created. And this is the render view. Now, the render view and the logical view got a very interesting relationship. Once you understand this relationship, a whole new world in Angular, specifically when it's come to DOM manipulation, gonna open up for you. So let's take a look. I've got this project up and running. Let's start to try to see something. So npm start. You know what? Maybe npm, no, all right, npm start. We're gonna do an ng serve. It's gonna take a little bit time at the beginning. Meanwhile, I wanna make sure that I can see the chat. Yeah. So if you just joined us, if you've got any questions, you can just type it down and I will try to answer everything. I will try. Can't promise. All right. You know what? Compiled successfully. Looking good. Let me hit the browser. New window. Let's go to localhost for 200. And here it is, the ng Poland project. I'm going to open up the console. We're going to need it. I'm going to clean it up a little bit. So I don't need all of this. So let's just get rid of it. All right, cleaner. And we're not gonna talk about CSS. That's not the topic for today. But I do like to install the Bootstrap CSS library. Bootstrap, yeah. So at least we're gonna have some kind of something, you know, nice to look at. And because I want to use the Bootstrap library, I'm gonna hit the style CSS, and I'm gonna import. Sorry, I'm gonna import from Bootstrap is CSS, and here we go. Bootstrap. This is like a shortcut for NPM modules. So hopefully now, if I go back to my app component, let's see. I think I've got Bootstrap, but it's easy to check it out. If I remove this built-in style and just try to use some Bootstrap CSS, you can see that we've got this slight movement and we've got Bootstrap CSS. All right. I don't know if any of you tried this before, but what do you think gonna happen if I'm gonna implement after view init and I'm gonna do a console log and I'm gonna console log myself like this, the instance, all right? First of all, I would like you to note that after view init, include the name view. I just talked about this internal data structure. So from now on, you're gonna see the word view everywhere. We've got it in after view init. We've got it in after view checked. We've got it in other decorators like view child, for example, all right? So the reason that you see the term view everywhere is because when you work with Angular, you are working with an internal data structure named view. And that's the reason the term view, you're gonna see it all around. Cool. So ng after view init, I'm gonna console log this, and let's see what we're gonna get, all right? So I can see the instance of app component, but if you look closely, and I hope you can see it, there is another property on this instance, which we didn't create, all right? It's called ng context. And if you look closely, you see that it's started with L, capital L, and root view. So first of all, I'm gonna tell you that L stands for logical. So if I go back to the slide, I just told you that when you wrote down this Angular template, you created some kind of a definition, and then an instance was created. And this instance, that's the logical view. And the L in the L view means you are looking at this logical tree. So we don't need to fully understand what's going on here. Well, basically, we don't have enough time. Oh yeah, you got it. But I want you to notice, and from now on, if you see a T view or L view, you should know that it means template view and logical view. And things might become more clear for you when you see a term like L view blueprint, like the logical view blueprint. All right. So just as a quick reminder, if you want to explore it after the view initialized, I just console log this, the instance of F component. So we all can just visualize this internal data structure that I've been talking about. And obviously, if you dig a little bit deeper, you're going to see everything. You're going to see a mashup of data and elements and references to DOM elements, because every view node that Angular creates holds a reference to a DOM element. The title of this session is DOM manipulation. So I'm going to repeat this sentence because it's super important, all right? Every view node that Angular creates holds a reference to a DOM element, which means that if I've got a reference to a DOM element and I destroy the DOM element, did I destroy the instance or I just cut the wire? Think about it for a second. We're gonna look at the answer. Someone asked at the chat, why after view init? And I see that someone answered. After view init, it's a safe place. I mean, the name suggests that every piece of code that you're gonna implement in this after view init gonna run after this view object was created and initialized. Now, in some cases, we can basically run some code in that's gonna work kind of the same in other lifecycle method. But after view init, if you're dealing with the view, with this view object, that's probably gonna be the safest place to write some logic, especially if I want to visualize the view. So after the view initialized, I want to log it to see how it looks. All right. Let's create another component quickly. So I'm going to choose Angular schematics. I'm using the IDE integration with the Angular CLI. You can do everything with the Angular CLI, obviously, in other code editors. I'm going to use a component. I'm going to create a child component. And let's take the next step. Once we understand that Angular creates this internal data structure called a view, and this view holds a reference for a DOM element, let's see why this information is super important. Now, I'm going to tell you right away, it is important because of a very, very core algorithm called change detection. I mean, the whole point in Angular and in other UI frameworks is like the ability to track changes, I believe, because otherwise we don't have too many problems, all right? So let's do something like this. Let's try to, let's implement a lifecycle method called doCheck on this child component. And the doCheck lifecycle method, that's gonna run on every change detection cycle, because Angular always check every component in this logical tree to see if something changed. So I implement this lifecycle method because now I can know for sure that on every change detection cycle, once my instance hits, I'm going to see something going to happen. So I'm going to do something like this. Let's do a console log. And here I'm going to write down child component checked. So if I go back to my app component and I'm going to use my child component, it's going to be app child component. I'm gonna expect to see a console log like this, child component checked, all right? Because first time and change detection runs, and we can see the child works right here. And now let's do something interesting. It's gonna lead us into this whole world of DOM manipulation. Let's create a button. Let's give it the label click. Let's implement click. And I'm gonna implement a method called nope. Create the method nope, right? We don't need this console log anymore, so I'm just gonna clean it up a little bit. And this method nope, surprise, it's not gonna do anything. So look closely, we've got a button. I just listen to the click event. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm gonna leave this method empty. This is implement on the app component. And I've also got a child component. Now a question for you guys. Do you think that the do check on the child component gonna trigger even though there's no data binding, nothing gonna happen? I'm just gonna click a button. Think about it for a second. If you like to cooperate, if there's anyone here who thinks that the change detection is gonna trigger on the child component, you can use the emoji and do like, I don't know, something, thumbs up or anything. If you like, you don't have to. If any of you gonna attend my workshop on NG Poland, you're gonna have to cooperate because I'm not gonna leave you any chances. It's gonna be in person. And if someone won't cooperate with me and won't answer my questions, you will have to, I don't know, you should think of something, Gary. Maybe.
By the way, it can be in person and online. So.
So I can't force the people online, force the people inside the room to answer.
Yeah.
I've got my method, guys. If you've ever been in my workshops, trust me, you're gonna cooperate. Whether you like it or not. I'm gonna break you down in a good sense. Yeah. All right. So let's see what's going on. We've got the app component. We've got the click. I'm gonna refresh. Let's clear the console. Let's click and surprise, 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 or no surprises. Angular is like, all right, there was an event. Ng is uncoded. Let's run change detection. Works as expected, all right? Even though this button doesn't do anything important at all, just an empty method, it's gonna trigger change detection because something might have changed. And that's okay. So let's do something bad, all right? Let's do something really, really bad. Let's do inspect element and look at this component. You see this app child, it's like a brand new tag, element tag. So let's remove it, but let's remove it like old-fashioned way, all right? Let's give it an ID, like app child. And again, I'm gonna implement after view init because I wanna make sure that this object already created. We're gonna leave this node. I'm gonna implement after view init and look closely. I'm gonna do something terrible. I'm gonna do document get element by ID. I'm gonna use this ID app child. And I'm gonna remove it. What do you want from me? Object is possibly null. All right, so what? You know what? I know it might be null. I don't care. I think we can also treat it like this. Same thing. All right. So look closely, guys. I just removed this element from the DOM, which means that if I refresh and you look closely, there is no app child on the DOM. But what about the instance? Does this component, this app child, is this instance still alive? Is change detection gonna hit this component even though there is no, it is here? Where is it? Someone wrote me on the chat, it's there, but you know what? I can't see it. Do you see any app child here? Maybe it's a delay or something. I can't see any app child. I can't see this element. Do I miss it? Maybe. I'm not perfect. I don't think it's here. It's not. All right. So look, I'm gonna click and child component is still being checked, which means basically that even though I removed the element, the DOM element, it doesn't mean that I destroyed the component instance. It doesn't mean that I destroyed the view node, which means that the view node is still alive. Let me just open the chat. All right. And Max wrote in the chat, yeah, the parsed virtual component is still there. But you know what, Max? It's not even virtual, right? It's there. There's an instance. And this little exercise, this little trick is actually very, very important of our understanding what's the roots of this statement, direct DOM manipulation is a bad thing. Direct DOM manipulation is a bad thing. For example, if you don't know, if you believe, if you think that by directly remove DOM element, you just destroyed a component instance, or you saved yourself some change detection cycle, or you freed up subscriptions, or you just, there are no zombies instance, you're wrong. And that's one of the reasons that this best practice of never touch the DOM directly was created for the first time. But what if you've got this knowledge right now, all right? And you said, all right, I get it. I want to keep the DOM elements that are linked or referred by my component instance, I want to keep it intact, because I don't want to create some kind of a situation where I don't see certain elements, but, like I think Max said in the chat, I've got these virtual instances or zombie instances all around, and I lost control. And that's a good thing to think about. But before we move to the I think the most important demo of this session, the most complex one, I want us to talk about another thing that just happened. If I can manipulate the DOM and remove the DOM elements that referred to my component instance, does it mean that maybe the relationship between the logical view and the render view are not one-to-one, which means that, let's think about it like theoretically and then try to implement something interesting. Does it mean that, for example, if I've got a component instance and it holds a reference to a DOM element, and I want to manipulate this DOM element, all right? I don't want to remove it. I want to move it around. Does it mean that I'm going to break this connection? If I'm going to directly manipulate it, does it mean that, I don't know, Angular will stop working, strange things going to happen, change detection going to break? Or I just going to change the render view? I'm just going to manipulate the render view. But if I'm not going to touch the logical view, nothing bad going to happen. All right? Let's look at the chat, for example. Yeah, the parsed visual component is still there. And someone mentioned, then is an anti-pattern. Well, I'm not sure it's an anti-pattern, because let me spoil the surprise a little bit. Ready? Sit down. Breathe. Every popular Angular component library out there performing direct DOM manipulation, period. I put my name on it. I can prove it to you. We don't have the time for it, but that's your homework. You can send me an email later, I'll show you. Check out Prime NG. Check out Angular CDK, Angular Material. Check out each of these component library, and you will find, my friend, chunk of code that doing direct DOM manipulation with vanilla JavaScript. So first of all, it means that if all the famous, popular, component library in the ecosystem actually do this, does it still considered to be bad practice, like a big no-no? I don't know. Let's look at my main example for today so we can have like a good discussion about it, all right? I want to build a directive with you. But listen up. We're going to do some DOM manipulation, actually extreme DOM manipulation, but I'm going to use Angular by the book, all right? I'm gonna manipulate the DOM, but not with vanilla JavaScript. I'm gonna do it like the right way, the best practice. Use Angular abstractions. All right. So I'm gonna create a directive. And I'm gonna call this directive window. You know what? Window. That's enough. Now let me start by throwing some code into this directive, and I'm gonna explain everything. All right, no worry. So I'm gonna try to do my best to implement this directive by the book, like all the best practices in the world. And I'm not perfect, so if you see something strange that you think is like completely wrong, please let me know. All right. I even gonna use like private read-only underscore every best practice that I know exists out there. All right. So first of all, I'm gonna save a read-only private. Let's call it an element. The type gonna be HTML element. I'm gonna create another read-only property. I'm gonna call it the parent. I'm going to save a reference to a parent element, but to keep it simple, I'm going to give it an any type. All right, it's going to be an HTML element, but I don't want to complicate the code too much. I want to focus on this specific lesson or technique. I'm going to create a private window, and that's going to hold up a reference to window. Right? Can be null. That's not a problem. Now, if you're an Angular developer and right away you jump out from your chair and you're saying, wait a second. If you want to reference the window, that's okay. But use dependency injection, wrap it with something, that's good. That's a good practice. You should wrap it, but that's not the point, all right? So if it was a code that, that I'm actually gonna use in my day job, all right, it's next, which I tell you a secret, we do write code like this. We're probably going to use dependency injection and wrap it like as we should. But bear with me. Next, let's inject some stuff. I promised you that we're going to do DOM manipulation by the book. So if I'm writing a directive and I want to get a hold on my host element, I'm going to inject the element ref. If I want to manipulate, now I'm going to say to manipulate the DOM, but you should already know that you are not manipulating the DOM. It depends. You can manipulate the render tree and you can manipulate the logical tree. All right? Anyway, I want to use a class called renderer. Because if you want to do some DOM manipulation, you should use the renderer class. That's the way it should work, all right? Now let's initialize some properties. let's say that my element gonna be this a host element, the native element, valid Angular code, all right? Let's say that my parent element, actually, if I already got my element, I can go ahead and just ask for the parent node. Now, you might see sometimes code that looks like this. I mean, this renderer, all right? Let's see, parent node. Which node I like to get a parent, it's going to be this element. And that's like getting a reference to the parent node, but through the renderer. Let's leave it like this. You know what? I don't want to use any vanilla JavaScript. So that was the parent. Next, we're going to implement two simple methods. The first one going to be open. The second is going to be close. The open, we're going to initialize this window. Now, like I said before, if it was a production quality code, I'm probably going to inject a reference to the window. I don't use it directly, but I'm going to explain everything about it in a second. But right now, I'm going to take a reference to the real window. I'm going to use the open method. I'm not going to give it any URL. I'm not going to give it any special properties right now. I'm just going to give it some width, so we see something. And I'm going to give it some height. So we can, again, we can, I don't know, 245, something like that, right? That's going to create a brand new window. Now I'm going to take my renderer, and I'm going to use method from the renderer. For example, append child. Append child asks for the parent, and for the parent, I'm going to take this window, which might be null. I'm going to refer to the document of the window that I just created, the document body, and I'm going to append this element. So if we look closely, I'm using the renderer, so that's okay. Also, you can see that when you use the renderer, but what you really need is the document body, yes, of course, you can wrap it, but eventually you are performing a direct DOM manipulation. I mean, let's be honest. So you can wrap it with dependency injection, but it's still you're coupled to the platform. All right, the close is going to be interesting. I'm going to take, actually, I can take the same method. I can take this renderer, append child, but this time I'm going to take the parent, remember the parent, and I'm going to take this element. So I'm just like appending the element back to its parent. And then I can take the window that I just created, which might be null, and close it. That's it. That's it. That's everything. What do you want from me? Property window is no initializer. Definitely assign the constructor. I heard someone. That might be a question. Maybe not. I don't know. But let me fix this. I'm going to go to the tsconfig because in the tsconfig compiler options, I want to change the strict property initialization to false. I mean, because otherwise it asks me to initialize it on the, it's still a pain in the ass. That's it. Sit down. Let me check the chat if there are any questions. All right, yeah, you're quiet, so basically there are two options. Maybe you lost me completely, or maybe everything is just so clear that you are left without questions. Now look at this directive, all right? I mean, technically speaking, it's kind of by the book. I am using the renderer, I'm using the renderer methods to perform manipulation. And let me tell you right away, the reason that the renderer was created is theoretically, or you know what, I would like to say technically, you might want to run the same code on a different platform. So you don't want to use DOM API directly, you're using the renderer. So technically speaking, you can implement a different renderer, and then the same code can run outside the browser. And that's the main reason that the renderer, the whole concept was created. And in an ideal world, that was the case. But in reality, most of the time, I can tell you from my experience, I've been working with Angular since like forever. Maybe once we build a real big, complex, single page application with Angular that actually we had to run it on different platforms. In most use cases, once you use any third-party library, you are coupled to the DOM, my friend. That's it. You are building a web application. There's going to be a window. Let's go back to our example. That's the directive. Now, let's try to use it. Let's see what it can be. So I'm going to go back to my app component. But this time, you know what? Let's keep the title. Instead of click, I'm going to refactor click, and I'm going to call it rename, change, title. And right here, I'm going to say this title equals to brand new title. All right? We don't need this anymore. We're not going to need agile. I'm going to replace this with H2 and here with H1. So we're going to see something, playground. Now, if you look at this code, straightforward, guys. When you click the button, the welcome to the title gonna change to something else. Instead of NG Poland, brand new title. All right? Let's check it out. Surprise, it works. Now let's use our directive and send this H2 somewhere else. Let's see how it's gonna work. Let's put the app window on it. All right? Nothing gonna happen. Let's take a reference to this app window so we can, what I wanna do, I wanna call the open method. So I would like to get a reference to the app window. And actually, you know what? It wasn't part of my plan, but let me give you like another technique that maybe few of you are not familiar with. I'm gonna use the export as on my directive, and I'm going to give it a nice name like portal. So now I don't need to touch this code. I can create like I can refer to it. I can create like let's say that I want to get a reference to this window, and it's going to equals portal. So now I can come here. Actually, this one is change title. I want to do another click. I'm going to call it open. And here I'm going to go to my portal. Oh, sorry. I'm going to go to my window and call open. And then another one. Let's call it close. So basically, I create this export as so I can refer to my directive with a more friendly name. I created the variable that points to this portal because I'm exporting this directive as portal. So first of all, obviously that's gonna work. We're gonna click, the title gonna change. Now let's try to do something crazy and click to refresh. Let's click open. Now the title is in a completely different window. We just did like a very, very extreme dramatic manipulation. And my question is, did I break Angular? If I click change here on the app component, is that gonna change the title that I just sent to another window, to another DOM? Let's look at the chat. Close, that was open. Yeah, someone did something. Open and open. All right, let's do close. I'm with you. Cool. So I'm gonna open and look, guys. I'm gonna click. Look closely at the new DOM. All right, I'm gonna click and I just change the title on a completely different DOM. But that's not the end of it. All right. Let me get it back. Let me close. And here you go. Just went back. Which means that what I just did, I manipulated the render view, but I haven't touched the logical tree. Which means that logically speaking, all right, it is the same component, it is the same context. This title is binded from this scope, from this component. This button calling this method right here. I mean, if you look at the code and totally ignore this, well, it works. But even if I use this extreme directive and create a brand new DOM, well, that's fine, guys. I haven't touched the logical tree. I just manipulated the render tree, how the DOM look like. Angular, it's still intact. But I don't want to leave you like this. I'm gonna take like, do we have like a little bit more time, Derek? Are we good? All right. So first of all, I think it's a very, well, I want to say I think it's a very nice example, but I mean, I created it, so I like it. So I don't know if you like it, but if you like it, let me know, because otherwise I don't know if I should continue. So I'm gonna wait for a thumbs up. All right, yeah, we've got a party. We've got a party. It means that we've got a drink before we get to the final part. Every party icon, cheers. No, I'm kidding, yeah. All right. Now let's finalize it. I created this directive by the book, but I don't want you to think that just because I use the renderer, everything works. I don't want you to think that, all right, Nir, what are you trying to prove? You just prove, I mean, someone seen this example before and he told me, well, you told me that direct DOM manipulation is fine if you know what you're doing, but in this very fancy example, you didn't use like vanilla JavaScript. You used the renderer, which means that well, of course it works. I mean, you used Angular API, so why not? I mean, that's cool. So let's make sure that we totally understand. I'm gonna do something like it doesn't make any sense at all. Right? Let me go back to my app window. We've got an H2 here. Let's give it an ID. Let's call it the title. All right. Let me go back to my directive, and I'm not gonna use Angular at all. I'm gonna remove the host element, the renderer. Let's get rid of any Angular valid codes here. How do I get the element? Well, this document, it's not even this, you know what? Document, all right? Get element by ID. It was, how did I call it? The title. It's called the title. So now I've got the element. Blah, blah, blah. It's not assigned because it might be null. You're right, it might be null, right? I'm not gonna use the renderer. I'm just gonna take this element, a parent node, all right? We're not allowed to use the renderer. So let's just use, a pen child document, I think, no? It's document, no, this window, yeah. So let's take this window, document body, append child and append its element. And what's your problem? Not assignable null because it might be null, blah, 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 blah. For now, I'm just gonna, for the sake of this example, all right? This parent, append child, and this element. I just wanna make, like, to clarify something, yeah? The reason that I'm totally ignoring the types right now, it's not because I'm trying to tell you don't write this kind of code ever. It's just not important for learning purpose. Obviously, in the full workshop, when we dive in, we're gonna learn how to write this kind of code production quality. But I want you to look closely, guys. What you see right here is a vanilla JavaScript direct DOM manipulation, which means that if I go back to my app, I mean, technically speaking, I mean, I just created a directive so I can call some method, yeah, but everything else is vanilla JavaScript. So if the renderer was the reason that everything worked, it means that now everything's gonna break. Let's give it a try. Let's open in a different window. Let's click, change the title. Let's bring it back. Which is like the final proof that you can manipulate the render view, the DOM. You can, all right? Everyone does it. Every popular component library out there does it. My favorite is Prime and Jitter is like a huge class, which everything it does is direct DOM manipulation, because we technically don't have any choice. The renderer is not good enough. I love Angular, yeah? The renderer is not good enough. We don't have everything we need. Eventually, you're gonna manipulate the DOM yourself, or you're gonna use a third-party component library, they're gonna do it as well. What I want you to take from this session is, first of all, the understanding of there is a logical tree and there is a render tree. You can manipulate, you can, it's okay to manipulate the render tree. You're not gonna break Angular. If you manipulate the logical tree, you're actually gonna affect logic. Now, it doesn't mean that, all right, cool, we learned something new, let's go ahead and manipulate the DOM everywhere. But hopefully, I was able to let's say, to deliver the message, guys, all right? DOM manipulation in Angular is a bad practice. It's a great statement, but I want you to learn and understand why this statement was created, like the example that I showed you before, all right? Because if we start to remove elements, we might affect how the UI sync with our state. And on the other hand, if we understand exactly what's going on, we can manipulate the DOM if we need directly without breaking up Angular. So there are no bad practices, guys. There is, like, once you understand what's going on, it's trade-offs, and you can make your own decision. And next time you get into a discussion with an Angular developer, they tell you, well, don't touch the DOM ever. I want you to say, no, wait a second. Of course I can touch the DOM because it's just the render view. I'm not messing with the logical view. I know what I'm doing. Yeah, and that's it, guys. So I'm gonna go back to the slide and introduce myself. I'm gonna check the chat in a second, all right? So if I got you interested, like I said before, hopefully nothing gonna stop me for visiting Warsaw in person next month. And if you join my workshop, I can promise you I'm gonna dig your brain And until you get a full understanding of what's going on over there, and you get like superpowers, and you can do whatever you want with Angular, I won't let you go. The whiskey might be included. And I hope to see you anyway, even if it's not, the workshop, in the conference. And yeah, visit the links, keep in touch, and let's see if we've got any questions. Will jQuery be an anti-pattern? Look, jQuery, it's a library, a helper library utility for DOM manipulation. jQuery was created in the era where we had to support different browsers like Internet Explorer and other browsers, and every browser implemented methods differently. So jQuery was created to help us as developers to write code and manipulate the DOM once and get full support of browsers. So there is no reason to use jQuery, not because it's an anti-pattern or bad practice, it's because it's not relevant anymore. Currently, most of the system that we build, we aim for modern browsers. Internet Explorer is officially dead. Even Microsoft pushed Edge, which based on Chromium. So there is no need for abstraction library to give us this compatibility. Now, you ask, if I've got someone asking, if I've got a jQuery UI plugin, can I use it in Angular? And I would say yes. But again, you need to understand the render view and the logical view, because if this library gonna start to remove elements and then recreate them, then you might break Angular, because you need to keep the reference. You can move stuff around, all right? So I hope it's answer your questions. There's no need for jQuery, but if you must to use jQuery, once you understand this relationship, you're good to go. Are the Angular guys think of expanding the renderer 2? Are they going to get the renderer 3? That's a good question, so I don't have any answers. Currently in the roadmap, it doesn't seem like the renderer 2 gonna extend. And actually, if we look around at the ecosystem, we kind of, I think that in this point in time, we kind of got the understanding that, it's okay that to build web application for the browser with Angular, which means that it's okay to manipulate the DOM. Yeah, I mean, even if you do use renderer, eventually you're going to get into a point that you need a reference to, or to do some manipulation to the renderer doesn't let you to do it. So anyway, the question is, I don't know. I don't have the answer to this. It doesn't seem like the renderer is we're gonna get like a new renderer with new methods, as far as I know. Anyway. While we are toggling component with ngIf, it does create, destroy the component, right? Yeah, well, ngIf is actually implemented an embedded view. What I just showed you, I messed around with DOM elements and with components, all these examples. Now, again, I don't have too much time to expand on this topic, but I'll tell you this. In Angular, there is embedded view based on templates, and there are host view based on component. ngIf implemented using templates. So there are no component, there is no instance to destroy unless you are putting an ngIf on a component, and then, yeah, that's like the safest way to manipulate the view and wrap it with a template, create an embedded view, remove it safely from the logical tree. I think I just used too many words to a very, 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 very simple answer. Toggling component with ngIf, create and destroy the component, right? Well, the short answer, use ngIf. Yeah, that's the right way to get a part of the view toggling in and out. I've seen jQuery in many projects today. Thanks. Well, cool. That's cool. I'm the last person on earth that's gonna tell someone don't use jQuery, because my belief is don't listen. I mean, it's gonna sound a little bit funny, but trust no one. I mean, when you learn something, when you hear the statement, don't do this and don't do that. That's a good practice, that's a bad practice. Don't use jQuery, don't use something else. Always, guys, explore. It doesn't matter who said this. I can tell you from my own experience, there is a very nice conference in Denmark, and once I had this talk about the CDK, and I showed some crazy example, and one of the Angular core team, basically a person that actually built the CDK, told me that, well, I didn't know that we can do this kind of stuff, and I created this API. What I'm trying to tell you, the message is, even the Angular core team, they build the tools, but it doesn't mean that we are not allowed to explore the boundaries. So you've seen jQuery, totally cool. Every time you hear that phrase, that's bad practice, believe no one. Go ahead, explore, get your answers. Why is it considered a bad practice? Because once you've got the knowledge, you understand that there are no bad practices. There is trade-off. There is always trade-off. The key is to understand what's going on and making a choice. All right. We've got some sound effects.
That's awesome. Well said.
That's the most important thing, guys. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can listen to people, with fancy titles. That's cool. No one's know everything. Always find your answers. Never just, take a phrase like "don't do this" and just live with it because someone told you to do it, even if it's like an expert item. All right. I think that's the level.
Trust me, I am expert.
Trust me, yeah, exactly. Trust me, I'm an engineer. Yeah.
Exactly. I know what I'm architect.
No, I mean it's titles are important. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it showed that someone got some
exactly
some experience. We are not like against fancy titles.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean you stop thinking.
Exactly. That's the message, guys. That's the message. And hopefully you've got like a little taste of it today.
Okay, so last shot, yeah? Okay, there are any questions? More questions? You can use Zoom to just use voice, or you can write down the question. No?
It's quiet here. Oh, we've got one. We've got two of them. Which whiskey are you drinking? Yeah, my favorite. This is Bushmills. That's my favorite one. And when I land in Warsaw, Derek, show me where I can buy some of this. And if you come to the conference,
we always serve you.
Come and have a shot with me. It was really, really nice. Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time and thank you for saying this.
Okay. So thank you very much for this great mini workshop. I really like it. Very open-minded. So thank you so much, Nir. Thank you everybody for joining us. It was really, really awesome. So let's play some music at the end.
Can I do this? Can I do this?
Yes, a hand banging. Yes, exactly.
That's going to be on YouTube now.
Yes, we are on YouTube.
Looking forward for NGPod. Yeah, guys, I really like to meet you face to face. So if someone can come, it's going to be great.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. So this is the good time to reserve your spot for Nir's workshops. Yeah. What can I say? And yeah, and Nir, we will see in less than a month. It's like a 25 day or something like this.
Yeah,
It's
I hope so.
amazing.
Figure crossed.
Yeah.
No surprises.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you so much, everybody.